Hi, I'm Dave Warzone. You're watching PHTV4 Spotlight. Today's Spotlight is on Eileen Kerlin Walsh, newly elected trustee of Moraine Valley Community College. And we're going to talk about that with her in just a second. But, you know, she's been in Palos Heights for a while. You've probably seen her on other shows. She is the president and principal attorney for Kerlin Walsh Law in Palos Heights. And if that wasn't enough on her plate, she added trustee to Moraine Valley Community College in April. So there was an election April 6th. You were sworn in the 26th. Congratulations on that.
Thank you, Dave. Yes, I don't need any sleep. I've decided. We can sleep when we're in the box,
You need to write the book, because I think there'd be people interested in how you do that. And I know you're a family person, so you've got a full boat going, right?
I do. I do.
So, and maybe that's the lead-in. Before we talk about the trustee position, maybe talk about your background as a lawyer, but also in the community, and you've served in other areas.
Thank you, Dave. So I am married. I have a big old husband, Tom Walsh, who comes from Ireland, also like I do, and we have 4 not so young boys. Now my youngest is 13 and my oldest is 21. So they are a lot of work. They're not as labor intensive as they were a few years ago, but they still need a lot of direction. So I balance my home life with my practice, which I've had for 20 years. We're now in Palos Heights. We finally came to the Heights in 2020. I also have always served in some role in the community since I have had a business. And over the years, I've served on the board of the Children's Museum in Oak Lawn, the Irish American Heritage Center in Chicago. I have been on several advisory boards, both at Moraine Valley and with legal communities. And I've always had room in my life. And with my husband, I always say if I'm asked to be on a board or make a commitment that I do need to stay married in the middle of all of this. So I try to sit on one board and serve in that capacity. So in 2021, I was president of the Oak Lawn Chamber. I came off as immediate past president at the end of 2021, and the Moraine Valley trusteeship was coming up in the spring of 2022. So that's why I decided to run.
I was going to say, that's quite a boatload of activity going on. And I know we talked last night, you were picking up, I think, one of your sons from a baseball game or something.
Football, yeah,
football.
Yes.
And what a tremendous thing that you're able to do all these things. And obviously you're doing them very well because, you know, your business, 20 years, I mean, that's quite an impressive. And now you're adding this to that list of accomplishments. Can we, you talked about things you did. I know you went to school in the area too, right? You went to DePaul?
I did. I started my degree, so I grew up in Ireland, and I started my degree there at Queen's University in Belfast. Then I had an opportunity to come on an exchange program for the children of the Troubles, those who grew up in Northern Ireland in the Civil War of the 70s and 80s. So that was an opportunity to come to Chicago in 1989, and I fell in love. I just loved the vibe, the opportunity, just the blue sky enterprise that anyone could be anything. I totally bought the American dream. So I went back after the end of our 6-month program, but I couldn't wait to get back again. So I came back in 1991. I finished my degree at DePaul, and then fired with that dream I told you of. I went to Loyola Law School here in Chicago.
Again, I mean, it's really impressive, and what a journey for you. And so maybe that journey kind of runs us into the decision to run for this position. You know, when you think about the path you've been on from Ireland to Chicago, and, you know, what a wonderful story to fall in love with the city, and it sounds like you've created the American dream for yourself and your family, for sure. With that going on in your life, how did you decide, or what was the conversation like with your husband or your family, or in your head, that, hey, I want to do the Moraine Valley, you know, board trustee position?
Yes. I have always had a relationship with Moraine Valley Community College since my boys were little. So on that path that I came on, when I first got out of law school, I worked for the Public Defender's Office, trying cases, felony cases, you know, death row cases. It was a very exciting world for me. but there was something about it that just didn't sit right, the adversarial type of just living your life that in order for you to win, someone else has to lose. So I went into private practice and started estate planning, and there I found my home. Well, then I didn't marry early. I didn't get married because I was on that journey until my mid-30s, and then immediately I had a little boy and was already pregnant with my second, and I thought, I don't want to be working 60 hours the way that I have been doing for all these years. And when you're single, working 60 hours, that's normal, right? So I quit the office that I worked for and started my own practice at my kitchen table with 2 little ones. And then very soon I had a 3rd boy on the way. So it was while I was at home that I took the opportunity offered to me by an attorney who taught law at Moraine if I would be interested in teaching there, and it was a godsend. Moraine kept me sane when I was at home with little children, because to be quite honest, I was in tears as often as they are, because when you're out in the world, and we moms know this, we don't talk about it too much, but you love being home with your children, you're in symbiosis with them, but haven't been used to being out in the world all the time, being validated, doing what you believe is a very worthwhile job, and then suddenly you're at home 24/7. It can be very, very difficult adjustment. So I loved teaching at Moraine because I was able to just have this wonderful closeness with my infants, but I also was able to get out in the world and remember, who I was. It was a lovely balance. So that started my journey with Moraine at that time.
What classes were you teaching, Moraine?
I taught business law and the legal environment.
Okay.
And occasionally, when necessary, I would teach College 101. And it just was a wonderful experience, and I loved Moraine. And I taught all the way through, I taught for 10 years. And then in 2011, my 4th little guy was already out of infancy, and I was ready to take my practice to another level. So at that point, I no longer taught there, but I stayed in touch with and kept my foot in the community college by being associated with the Job Resource Centre. So I did that all the way and still am today. So I was always associated with Moraine, loved the college, and when I was coming off the board of the Oaklawn Chamber, I felt that this was just a very natural fit for me to become involved with the treasury with the stewardship of that valuable resource in our community.
It seems very much kind of like a natural progression in the way you were headed professionally. As a side note, not to add anything extra to your plate, but as you're talking about it, picturing a mother and a child on her lap and also working at home at the same time, I think there's a TV show in there somewhere, Legal Mom
Lord.
Or something.
How often you would have had a child trying to shush a crying child and sound very professional on the phone. That was definitely
I don't know if
a
it's
challenge.
a sitcom or a drama, but there's something there to work with. So in light of all that, and it sounds like a lot. So you decided to run for this position, and it sounds like it is a natural fit for you. What was that process like? Because you had a campaign for this, you had to fundraise for this,
Absolutely.
right? This is a little bit different than some other things you've done. What was that experience like?
Absolutely, Dave. So any other position I had on boards I was nominated into. So running for office was such a different experience. And at the beginning I thought, well, I'll give it a shot. I'll give it a try. I had no idea. Thank God I didn't know what I was in for.
You might not have done it.
Even to run, Dave, for a position, be it on the school, the library, your village, the community college, you have to fundraise. You could not get out a single piece of mail without having thousands in the bank. And Moraine has this huge district compared to maybe our local trustees or the library or the school board. So I realized very quickly that I was going to have to fundraise. I'd never done that before. I was very used to, of course, selling legal services. I was very used to, I had fundraised for charity a lot, but I had never gone in front of someone and saying, would you donate to my campaign? And when people did, it was the most amazing experience. I probably had 10 donations before I literally was not in tears when someone would hand me a check, because that validation, that I believe in you, I support your campaign, I think you're serious, I think you can win, I think you can do it. I feel tearful even now talking about it. It was never before had I had the sense that I was believed in, I was liked, I was trusted to do a position, that the fundraising was a huge learning piece, and I would have the confidence if I was running again, because I realize now that people want to support you if they believe in you. And all you have to do is tell them what it is, what your story is, what you want to do, to why you're running for that position, what your little platform is, and you can get the resources to get it done. The fundraising was probably the hardest to begin with and the most valuable lesson for me. Yeah, it was very, very interesting. And I again started out kind of nervously about, well, I'll see how this is. But towards the end, I really wanted to win. So probably in the last 6 weeks, I campaigned vigorously, got myself out there, went to the breakfast, the fish fries, met as many people as I possibly could. And it was fun. And it was a lot of new learning, a lot of new terminology, just learning things. And I'm a lifelong learner. And probably that was another thing I came away loving, all the new terminology and what I was learning about politics and what I was learning about the college in order to understand what this position meant.
You know, I want to go back to something you said in there, and I understand that. I get where it could be fun, and I certainly understand how it could be fulfilling and rewarding, especially when you are getting support from people. They're giving you money, they believe in you, as you said, they want to support you. And at the same time, that is going to be my lead into the next question here. That means whatever message you're delivering, they want that to happen. They want to see you go forward with those ideas. So when you're out, you know, at those fish fries or those breakfasts or those, you know, meetings, what goals are you bringing as a trustee that you think kind of resonated, that probably generated that support for you as well?
Yeah, I know that people were moved by that I had been connected with the college, that I just wasn't looking for a board position. I would tell people that when I taught at Moraine, adjunct faculty are so modestly compensated, is a nice way to put it, that when I would have my young children in the childcare centre at the end of the month, I would owe the college money. So one of my aims was to find a way within the budget to make sure that those precious adjunct, and when I would be talking to people on the campaign trail, they would tell me that they had enjoyed their time or learnt more of their time with their time at Moraine than they did at their four-year college. So there was this tremendous respect for the teacher, and I had some people tell me that they loved that a lot of their teachers were lawyers or CPAs, were business experts from the community. So that led to a second thing that I felt was really important, and that was having people understand that community college is valuable and something to be proud of, because many people go to community college, benefit from it, but don't even put it on their resume because they're much more likely to use the four-year college, which maybe is better known. So one of my aims then became, let's see if we could remove the taint, that little bit of a stigma that's still attached to going to community college, because it is such a fabulous resource.
Yeah, you know, as a former high school teacher myself in the community, I remember the stigma you're talking about, and I always felt that was kind of a gross service to approaching it that way. From my perspective, there were a lot of high school kids who would benefit by going to a community college first. Figure this out a little bit, right? You know, before you go away and create that other experience, take some classes, find out what you're interested in, spend a little more time growing and developing your view on what you want to do with yourself.
Exactly, bridge the maturity gap.
Yeah, exactly, that's a great phrase for it. So in addition to that, do you see any other challenges? And I'm sure you're going to come up to them very soon over the next few years. It's a 6-year term, is that correct?
It is, and one of our very first tasks out the door was to hire the new president, which I thought was
Don't get it wrong.
Absolutely, just such a huge responsibility, and I took it very, very seriously. There was a lot of interviewing and narrowing down and seeing what each of their vision was for the college. And I also didn't want to just go with what my own intuition was. I wanted to take the advice of those who'd been on the board for many more years than I had. And I did get some great advice. And I think all of us, we did hire the best president from everyone that was available, based on background, based on passion, based on experience. But that was a really big responsibility. Next up is the collective bargaining agreements for 5 of the unions at the college starting in September. So that's going to be a challenge to try to make everybody happy, or at least have everybody agree and go away with something that they can live with. Continuing enrollment is still a challenge for the college. Moraine has not gone back to its pre-pandemic enrollment levels, and we need that enrollment.
You have not. You're getting there.
Getting there, but not yet.
Yeah.
So we need, and to continue to expand the enrollment, to expand that fabulous resource beyond those, and for not even just for those doing their 2-year going to their 4-year. Of course, there are so many certificate programs, ongoing education for adult programs, that I think a challenge is to get the word in the community more and more and more. And then of course funding is always going to be something to keep your eye on. But what one of the long-term trustees, and I shared this with you when we were chatting before the interview, said to me when we were hiring the new president, Moraine's not broken. So we thankfully were not in a position to see, who can fix this college. It's in great shape. Can it be even better? Absolutely. But we have what's a great institution, and what if we can make it even better? So I take all of that on board, and will do what I can to advance those objectives, being in the business community, being in leadership in the community, and having the opportunity to connect businesses and community leaders with the college.
Yeah, it's listening to you talk about the state of the college and the things that you just dealt with, hiring the president and heading into bargaining. These are huge responsibilities. The institution, Moraine Valley Community College, is so important to the community and a large community that it serves. What a tremendous responsibility! And then at the same time, as you said, it sounds like there's an incredible opportunity here, because you're not trying to fix something that's broken. You're handed the keys to something that's really cool, really special. What more can we do with it, right?
Beautiful way to put it, Dave.
Good luck. I would much prefer to walk into that position, but at the same time, there is pressure that, all right, but let's keep it there, or let's take it beyond.
Keep moving up, yeah.
Yeah. Are you ready for some lightning round questions?
Sure.
Okay.
Let's do it. Does that mean I have to be prompt in my answers? Because you've got to stop me, because as you can tell, I'm a little loquacious.
Well, some of these will invite response. Some of them will be very quick and easy for you. Are you ready? Here we go. Number one.
Let's do it.
Person of inspiration for you.
I'm a huge fan of Dolly Parton.
Oh, yeah?
Have been all my life since I was 11.
Because of the singing or the life story?
I just love her life story. She, like me, came from the country, one of 12 children. I love everything about her. I love her voice, her singing, her community involvement, her charity work.
Tremendous humanitarian.
She's probably my #1 role model. I have others. I'm a big fan of Oprah and what she has done for spirituality and awareness and consciousness in the community. And I love Barbara Sher, who is a New York-based, recently deceased personal growth leader. So I have always had sort of like a board of directors that I would literally put on the wall of people who've never met me, but I'm very much with them in spirit.
But that is an interesting point. So you have a group, it sounds like. Are you doing like, what would so-and-so do? Like you're in a situation? Is that?
I have done that. Yeah. What would they do? Exactly, exactly. And written out a manifesto of all the people, and if I had a particular situation, what would they say to me? And then I tried to respond in their voice based on what I know about them.
Okay, I like that. I'd like to hear that conversation sometime. How about favorite subject in school, whether high school or college?
English,
Literature?
language. I always loved reading books. Yeah,
All right,
by
can
far.
I sneak one in here because it's not on here? Do you have a favorite author?
Well, if I was to, oh gosh, so many. But my favorite book of all time is a book called Cider with Rosie by Laurie Lee, which Laurie Lee was an English poet, and he grew up maybe in the 1920s or 30s, and he wrote many other books, but that was his autobiography. And it was probably one of the first coming of age. It was probably where I fell in love with memoir, because my absolute favorite genre of literature would be memoir, because that's when you can live the life that you haven't led yourself, be it wonderful or be it terrible. And that's how we develop empathy, is by understanding the lives of others.
Right, yeah, seeing it, experiencing it through their story or their, All right, as a former English teacher, I'm going to put that on my list. I'm going to have to look up this author and that story. Thank you. How about this? Whether as a lawyer or serving the community in some other capacity, what is an event that was really either impactful for you in some way or memorable in some way? Like, that was a special thing.
Gosh.
And I'm sure there's more than one here, so.
Yeah. I absolutely love my clients, Dave. So my area of practice is estate planning. So wills, trusts, powers of attorney, trust administration, probate. I'm just bathed in that world. And people tell me their stories all the time. So it's my clients' stories and what I can do for them. So clients come in with a difficult situation they don't see a solution to. We have a healing. I like to call estate planning the healing law as opposed to warrior law, which is what that litigation was.
Law,
and to be able to serve them. I'll just tell you one quick little story. Clients, one was, they had come into a windfall. So it was these clients on a very modest income. They had, the wife had just a brother who was very, very wealthy. They had been estranged, passed away, and she was included in this large estate. So they came to me seeing this inheritance as a burden because there was disabilities, there were benefits, there was a possibility of them being taken advantage of, there were predators on the periphery. We were able to do so much for those clients in terms of the kind of trusts we were able to set up, the kind of protections we had for them, for their family. And they were just almost tearful at the beginning with how much of a burden they felt. They almost didn't want to take this money, to just in a state of complete joy that the options were available to them. So that is what I get up for. That's what I live for. I love what I do so much.
I say, what a tremendously fulfilling type of experience. So, I mean, to actually help somebody navigate a situation like that and then arrive at something that is so positive, you know, in the end.
Absolutely. And I will tell you, probably once a week, if not more, clients will say to me, that is such a relief. That is, what a weight off my mind, because they've done their estate planning. So I get to have that kind of a practice. I get to make people happy. So you can see why I like happy, not sad law, healing, not warrior law.
Right. Well, it's got to be energizing, I'm sure.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Which is kind of related to my next question. You've got so much going on, right? I'm imagining you find some time to recharge every now and then. So for you, what is a vacation, or where do you go?
Oh.
Where do you recharge?
I recharge in Ireland. In fact, I just got back. I was with a delegation in Donegal, which is a part of Ireland that I hadn't gone to since I was little. And I was amazed again at how beautiful that part of Ireland was. And my parents, as Ron and Carl were so used over the years to hearing me talk about my parents as they grew older and became more frail, and they both died in the last 21 and 22, but they were in their 90s. They had wonderful lives. But the last 5 years of my returning to Ireland was about visiting with them and spending time with them. Now Ireland has sort of opened up for me a little bit, so it's sad that I don't have my parents, but I can visit again. And so I love to go to Ireland. I go 2-3 times a year, to the exclusion of other places. Some of these days I think, well, you know, one of these days I'm going to go on safari, or I'm going to go to Australia, but I still have family there. I have a little farm there, and that's where part of my soul lives all year long.
I said you're creating almost that image. I think that a lot of Americans, I haven't been to Ireland, my wife and I are talking about it next year, but that stereotypic image we have of the rolling green hills, the little cottages kind of nestled in there, and you know,
it actually
it's like that. I've heard that.
It is. Now, of course, there's big city with big
Right.
city problems, but it's still largely rural. And I was with an American group, and I was seeing it through their eyes, and they were just, oh, this is amazing. This is amazing. Oh my gosh, either, you know, the little cottages or the green fields or the little lanes, there are still places we're driving and the grass is going up the middle of the road.
Yeah.
And they say, how in the world can two cars pass each other? But somehow we manage it. So it truly is a beautiful place and a wonderful visit. So
Right.
go
If
book
it's
your
on your
tickets.
list,
You
yeah.
will love it.
Put it on your list. A place for all of us to recharge. right?
Absolutely.
All right, how about this one? Let's come back to your profession. Let's say you're talking to somebody, a young person who's thinking about a career in law. What advice would you give them?
Do it. Do it. And especially if you like the close reading, if you like history or English or philosophy, if you know that you enjoy reading and you're not sort of mathy or techie, anyone from any area of interest could find a career in law. But if you know that you're up for the close study, the close reading, it is such a wonderful career and opens so many doors. One of the nice things about qualifying as a lawyer is that you have so many options open to you. Even in my career, I've had the opportunity to teach law, the opportunity to be in the public sector, to be in the private sector, to have my own business, to go out and speak to educate other lawyers. There is so much opportunity. You can go international, you can work for a huge corporation, and you can always hang out your own shingle, which is so family friendly, is so lets you set your own agenda as you after you've gotten all your experience. There's just, it opens so many doors that I would say do it.
Do it.
Do it. Do it.
It sounds like lawyer, it's just one little word there, but the umbrella it covers is actually, I mean, there's, like you said, there's so many opportunities, so many different areas. Mm-hmm. Maybe you've kind of answered it, but I'm going to still ask it, and I think you asked maybe earlier, what do you like best about being a lawyer?
It would absolutely be the opportunity to hear the stories of people's lives. I may have said earlier that clients' needs unfold through their stories. So, and also, someone comes to visit me, they've never met me before. We have to know, like, and trust each other. So to be able to talk to them about their lives, maybe they come from a different country, maybe they have a business, how they built it, maybe there's a problem, to be able to talk about special needs, difficult things, confessional things, to be able to hear people's stories. And I have learned so much about life and so much about other countries, about different professions, different businesses. You know, I talk often to my good friend Kathy O'Hara, who's
Right, you've interviewed her.
Yes, and she's and she owns a hair salon, and we've often said that we have learned so much about so many different subjects because you're constantly talking to people from different backgrounds. So it's their stories, and my viewers on Channel 4 are familiar with something that I have done with those stories, Dave, and that is developed a program called Writing a Legacy Letter to help them write their story in addition to getting their estate plan done. So I say it's leaving your wisdom as well as your wealth.
Oh, that's nice.
So the stories are what makes it all worthwhile.
Yeah, yeah, and stories certainly are, they're so priceless because it's a life, it's a thing we've done and experienced. So this next question is probably going to be kind of tricky. Maybe not for you, because it sounds like as a lawyer you love your job, you love the career you've had, so I'm going to spin it on you the other way now. It sounds like you have your dream job and you're a trustee, but what if it wasn't a lawyer or trustee? What would the other dream job be?
Oh, probably, did you say you were an English teacher?
Yeah.
That's probably exactly what I would be.
That's an excellent answer.
I would be, my undergraduate was in English and education. I always thought I would be an English teacher. It's what I wanted to do. It's still a little kind of that little voice is still quivering. So I know when the time comes that I reach my second act and I no longer practice on a daily basis, I will teach in some capacity. I'll also learn. So to teach the subject of literature, and probably high school students, because I love how they're just blossoming
energy,
and learning, and their energy and
developmentally
their start.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I would have taken your job.
It's a good. I loved mine too. It was. I couldn't have imagined a better career. I was half expecting you to say like Dolly Parton, maybe country Irish singer, but no, you want to be the teacher.
I do love to perform, and I do love to speak in public. So there is maybe just a little hint of the glamour and Hillside's TV.
I say Oprah
I always
and Dolly
say,
and,
yeah, this is my little teeny little chip of glamour, plus the opportunity to educate and just like you, Dave, bring on guests on Where the Road Rises to inform our community and teach them. If we have a guest that has something to teach you, that's probably combines both roles.
It does. It is. It's a nice melding of a lot of things you're interested in, right? Eileen, thank you very much for coming on.
You're so
This has
welcome.
been good. Obviously, good luck with your law firm, but you've been doing it for a while and you're doing a great job at it. But especially, good luck as trustee with Moraine Valley Community College.
Thank you so much, Dave.
I'm Dave Wurzel, and you've been watching Spotlight. Today's Spotlight has been on Eileen Kerlin Walsh, newly elected trustee for Moraine Valley Community College. Thank you for watching.